We have here a 2021 Jeep Gladiator. The front differential case is getting pulled out, so it can get an upgraded motive gear ring and pinion set. While this install happens within a JT, this guide can also be used as a reference when installing a gear set in a JL. Both models will shim the same way, and both have center axle disconnects. Motive Gear always recommends that installers read the provided instructional guide before beginning an install with our gear sets. Correct installation can be the difference between a safe extended gear life or premature failure. Disconnect the driver side tie rod. Secure the loose end of the tie rod to the vehicle frame with cable ties or bungee cord so it is safely away from the work area. Unbolt the brake caliper. Never let a caliper hang from the brake line. Always secure the caliper to the frame with an S-hook or cable ties so there's slack in the brake line. Remove the rotor bolt. Remove the rotor. Unbolt the backing plate. Unbolt the front wheel speed sensor and hang it safely away from the work area. Unbolt the wheel bearing from the steering knuckle. Remove the axle shaft completely from the axle housing. Remove the caliper, rotor bolt, rotor, backing plate, and speed sensor on the passenger side. The passenger tie rod may not be necessary to remove. Unbolt and loosen the passenger axle shaft. Loosen the front differential cover and let it drain. Unbolt the drive shaft from the front differential yoke. Use a bungee cord or other strapping to securely suspend the loose end of the drive shaft securely away from the working area. Remove the rock shield from the actuator. Unbolt the actuator from the axle housing, carefully disconnecting the shifter fork from the axle shafts in the process. Remove the passenger wheel bearing and the disconnect slide collar from the axle housing. Remove the snap ring from the intermediate axle shaft. Slide the intermediate axle shaft through the passenger axle housing and out through the knuckle. It is very important to mark the carrier caps before you remove them so they can be reinstalled in their exact location and orientation during reassembly. Only then unbolt the carrier caps. Remove the differential case. Save the differential bearing shims from each side separately for later reference. Remove the pinion nut from the yoke. Use a punch to help remove the pinion from the housing. Be careful not to let any hardened gears that may be reused hit the floor. Remove the pinion seal. Be careful not to gouge the housing during this process. The outer pinion bearing is now free to be removed. Remove the outer pinion race, inner pinion race, and pinion shims from the housing. The easiest way to do this is to tap out the races from the opposite side. Measure the thickness of the shims that you remove during disassembly, and then select the same shims from the installation kit. We always recommend using fresh shims for every install. Drive a new inner bearing race and outer bearing race into their housing positions with the new pinion shims sandwiched in between. Place the differential case and pinion on a padded or wooden workbench. Place the inner pinion bearing on the pinion shaft. Press the inner pinion bearing by the inner bearing race to protect the new pinion. Do not apply pressure to the outer bearing race or roller cage. Unbolt the ring gear from the differential case. The ring gear may need some careful persuasion to release from the interference fit. Lightly file the surfaces where the new ring gear will sit. The goal is not to score the surfaces, but to clean the surfaces. Slide the new ring gear into place on the differential case. Use the thread locker on all the ring gear bolts. First tighten, then torque the ring gear bolts to the motive gear factory specifications, following a star-type pattern as you tighten them. Place the pinion within the housing. Place the outer bearing on the end of the pinion shaft. Secure the yoke over this. Feed the washer and pinion nut onto the pinion threads. Tighten down the pinion nut. Check for sufficient pinion preload with an inch-pound torque wrench. Accurate measurement is read while the gauge is sweeping. This one reads 20 inch-pounds, which is appropriate for a Jeep Gladiator. Place the differential case in the housing with the determined differential bearing shims on each side. A good place to start is with the same shim thickness that were removed during initial disassembly. Place the carrier caps back in their original positions and snug the bolts. Check to see if backlash is in the appropriate range with a dial indicator. The appropriate range for motive gear front differential gears is 7 thousandths to 9 thousandths for street gears. This one reads 19 thousandths. If the backlash is outside of the appropriate range, like this one is, remove the differential case, adjust the differential bearing shims, and retry. Once the backlash is set, attempt the first contact pattern. Paint a few ring gear teeth, drive and coast side with marking compound. Rotate the marked teeth several times through the pinion before attempting to read the pattern. Check the pattern against the provided pattern guide. This pattern is slightly high. Pinion shim adjustments will be necessary. Follow the pattern guide's suggestions. This example shows a good contact pattern. When satisfied with the contact pattern, remove the differential case and pinion in preparation for final assembly. Replace the outer pinion bearing in its race before installing the new pinion seal. Place a crush sleeve or solid spacer over the inner pinion bearing. Return the yoke over the end of the pinion shaft. Use thread locker on the pinion nut before attaching and carefully torquing to manufacturer's specifications. Use an inch-pound torque wrench to check pinion preload again. Set the differential case back in the housing with the same shims that were used to achieve the previous contact pattern. Secure and torque the carrier cast to the manufacturer's specifications. Double-check the contact pattern. This one is now centered. Feed the intermediate axle shaft through the passenger axle housing. Secure the snap ring back in place. Return the disconnect slide collar to its place before sliding the passenger axle shaft back into the axle housing. Carefully return the actuator to its place, making sure the shifter fork grips the disconnect slide collar. Return the rock shield to its place over the actuator. Tighten and torque both to manufacturer's specifications. Use fresh thread locker on the wheel hub bearing bolts when reinstalling. Return speed sensors, backing plates, and rotors to their original locations. Reattach the rotor bolts and brake calipers. Tighten and torque all to manufacturer's specifications. Carefully lower the drive shaft and bolt to the front differential yoke. Tighten and torque to manufacturer's specifications. Use the kit-supplied sealant or gasket on the differential cover before bolting back on the housing. Return any tie rods removed to the location they were removed from. Torque to manufacturer's specifications. After the installation is complete, follow the new gear break-in procedure provided in the instructional guide. New ring and pinions, especially at a high numeric ratio, can cause excessive heat buildup within the differential housing that can soften the gear teeth, significantly shortening the gear life.